Look at the low today, right there, literally to the penny, basically. And again, this pivot line stands out beautifully in terms of, you can see even going back here, this was your high, right? It came up, fell down, and then broke above. You kind of kissed it, broke down, went up, and finally broke out. And now we're coming down to it from the other side. So this level needs to hold. If it doesn't, then it opens up basically a void here where it can come down to this lower level down there. So really important for the bulls to hold the 61,500 level today on a daily closing basis, right? Intraday doesn't matter. I mean, especially with Bitcoin, it can flip around. There could be a one big sell, all those type of things. It's more so on a daily closing basis that really solidifies where that chart was on that day.
Bitcoinzilla stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now, guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoinzilla today and enjoy the new edge. Let's join Gareth in this video about Bitcoin and more.
Our numbers on the day: Dow up 42 points, NASDAQ up 40 points, S&P up 13, and oil down $1.43. Now, the one thing here is, number one, these are all pretty quiet, right? Up or down a tenth. This is a tenth of a percent. This is about a quarter of a percent. So very, very light on the markets. But right here, this is more interesting. Oil down to almost 2%. Now, if you were watching yesterday, I gave you the heads up that I pulled the trigger on a short on oil with my smart money commodity service. So obviously they got my exact entry price, all that stuff. But I did give you guys a heads up that the chart to me was a sell short signal. And ultimately today down 2% on oil. So nice move there. Now, we are seeing gold today up fractionally on the day. Small move there. And Bitcoin, again, you remember my pivot line? Well, guess what the low of the day was on Bitcoin? The pivot line. So we retraced to the pivot line. As of now, we're holding it, which is really important. The bulls, again, the bulls last stand here, they have to hold the line. If they don't hold that line, we get a daily close below that pivot line. Trouble is on the horizon for Bitcoin. So we're going to watch that very, very closely. Now, just going over to the heat map here, kind of a mixed bag, right? I mean, just like the markets today, generally neutral to positive. Nvidia did have a little bit of a bounce after yesterday's down move. Apple was around the flat line, Microsoft around the flat line, even Google/Alphabet down 0.6%. That's not a big move. Meta, same thing. And then if you go over here, you can see financials again eking out a little bit of upside, generally net positive, while again retail, Amazon was down about 1%. But overall, this heat map, a mixed bag, which is what the numbers told us.
Real Vision's chief crypto analyst, Jamie Counts, suggests that tokenized real-world assets, RWAs, could reach $1.3 trillion by 2030, far less than Wall Street's $30 trillion forecast. This growth could still significantly impact the crypto ecosystem, particularly Ethereum. Jamie Counts projects $1.3 trillion in tokenized RWAs by 2030, assuming the current compound annual growth rate of 121% continues. Standard Chartered Bank and Synpulse's forecast of $30 trillion by 2034 is seen as overly optimistic by Counts. While Ethereum is the preferred platform for tokenized assets, Layer 2 solutions could capture most of the revenue, limiting Ethereum's direct gains. The rise of tokenized RWAs, even at $1.3 trillion, could have a significant ripple effect across the Web3 ecosystem, boosting sectors like NFTs and gaming. Despite differing views on growth, tokenization is expected to play a key role in transforming traditional financial assets into digital forms by 2030.
So what we saw in the intraday today, again, we did have a slightly lower open, and we can see that right down here. A little bit of a lower open, a float up initially, and then basically, look at this. I mean, you could just, draw this in the rest of the day. It kind of went tighter and tighter and tighter into the end of the day. And that just shows you the lack of volume, lack of conviction in any direction, right? There weren't any big players that were buying massively. There also weren't any big players that were selling massively. It essentially was a quieter day as it went on, and we talked about that at the open in terms of volume. Now, a couple of key charts to look at. So number one, Nvidia did get a bounce today after the drop yesterday. The key on Nvidia still remains that it is still below this trend line. But again, the question, and I asked this yesterday to you guys, is this a move up with bullish consolidation, or is this going to get rejected on earnings and go back to this 105 level? After the bell tomorrow, we're probably going to find out. I think Nvidia earnings, by the way, don't come out till about 4:20. So again, I'll be trading those live with the earnings trader guys. You can find that service on verifiedinvesting.com. But nonetheless, Nvidia getting a little bit of a bounce after the little bit of a sell-off yesterday as traders, again, positioning themselves for that big result. Now, a couple other things. So here's your oil chart, guys. Looking at oil, you had your bounce, right? We had a classic bounce right here. That, again, was a 50-50. And just to go over the technicals of this chart again, it was a classic wedge pattern. But if you study wedge patterns enough, you start to recognize things. So when you hit a level, all right, so here we hit it once, twice, and 3 times. All right, here you hit once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. One of the things to recognize is generally first, second, third hits, you get moves that get pushed back against the trend line. So in this case, push back, push back, push back. Here on the downside, when you hit it the first 3 times, 1, 2, all right, 3. The 4th time, again, is a 50-50. It's 50-50 odds of breaking when you talk probabilities. In this case, we got a bounce, but generally when it hits a 4th time, what do we see happening, right? So like this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, it gets a bounce, and then it gets a small bounce, and then the breakdown. That's what I'm angling here for on oil. So I expect oil, again, you got your bounce, and eventually it leads to a breakdown. Downside target for me is probably around the $64 per barrel level. Now, the only way oil is going to 64 is if we get some bad economic news. So this implies, if this plays out, that we will see some poor economic data coming out of the charts or out of the economic data points. Now, looking at gold today, gold again, folks, not a whole lot of movement here, a little bit of flat to upside. To me, this looks like a chart that's hovering, waiting for that PCE data, right? Just like Nvidia is waiting for those Nvidia numbers, gold is waiting for the PCE data to either spike higher with that 26.60 target price, right? Or if it gets rejected, where is it going to go? Where do I buy, or where do I look to potentially buy? Right down on this downslope or slight upsloping channel level. That, again, is your buy level. Now, would I be buying up here? No, I wouldn't be, at least not for me. I don't like to pay up. At some point, there'll be a flush in gold. My guess is with the negative divergence that I'm witnessing on the RSI chart, it might be sooner than later. Maybe even on the RSI, we'll see a little bit of or I should say on the PCE data on Friday, maybe we'll even see a little bit of a dip. So I'm more waiting for the dip as a swing trader to be a buyer of gold. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have my long-term holdings in gold. I've had my long-term holdings in gold for basically a year and a half at this point, a large position on the long-term side. But on a swing trade basis where we're looking to capture moves like this and then rebuy and push it up and then short, down there, much better to wait patiently until we get the chart set up to come through.
Bitcoin has traditionally struggled in September, closing the month down 72.73% of the time over the past 11 years. As August ends with a slight decline, the focus shifts to whether 2024's unique dynamics, including the U.S. election and potential Fed rate cuts, might defy historical trends. September has been a challenging month for Bitcoin, with losses in 8 of the last 11 years, including a 19.01% drop in 2014. Bitcoin's 2.74% decline in August aligns with its historically subdued performance during this month. The 2024 U.S. election could affect Bitcoin's market, either positively or negatively, depending on outcomes and investor sentiment. A possible rate cut by the Federal Reserve during the September FOMC meeting could provide a bullish catalyst for Bitcoin, especially if it's a significant reduction. Despite potential September struggles, October has historically been a strong recovery month, with significant gains in previous bullish cycles. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has frozen the assets of Jonathan and Tanner Adam, alleging they ran a $60 million Ponzi scheme under the guise of a crypto trading bot. Over 80 investors were defrauded by promises of high returns, while the funds were allegedly used for personal luxuries. The SEC seeks injunctions, disgorgement, and penalties against the brothers for their violations of securities laws. As August draws to a close with just 4 days left, Bitcoin has slipped by 2.74% this month, leaving market watchers eager to see if September will bring better news. History hasn't been kind to Bitcoin in September. Over the past 11 years, it has ended the month on a downward trend 72.73% of the time. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.